Today at the White House.
Secretary, two questions for you, if you don't mind. The first one is that Jay Powell at the Fed said last week that FSOC would be meeting in the future to discuss Facebook's Libra product specifically. Has that happened yet? And then secondly, you talk about Facebook putting this product out. If Facebook is able to ultimately resolve all of your concerns about AML and other issues, do you want Facebook to be in the business of issuing cryptocurrency?
Which is we, and not going to say we, either at the principals level or at the deputies level, we've had multiple meetings across the regulators with representatives of Facebook and expressed our concerns. We've also had multiple meetings of the FSOC working group. I think you know Jay Powell and I meet weekly and we've talked about this extensively. So there are these discussions going on, they will continue to go on. Again, to the extent that Facebook can do this correctly and can have a payment system, correctly with proper AML, that's fine. They got a lot of work to do to convince us to get to that place.
Can you address the problems of raising the debt ceiling?
Well, why don't I do this? I'm sure there's a lot of interest in that as well. But why don't I take a bunch of cryptocurrency questions,
I've already asked,
and then we'll come back to you on that. I'll give you
promise?
that. But you can ask your cryptocurrency question.
Well, I really wanted to talk about the debt.
Mr. Secretary,
It's all related. It's all
what are your
related.
concerns? Facebook's had privacy issues in the past. How does that play into your concern, and what is your level of concern with Facebook having Libra?
Well, again, I would just say we obviously have concerns with the privacy issues. There's been items in the press about potential settlements. I'm not going to comment on that. But obviously, the regulators, and one of the regulators, as I've said, most people haven't heard on FinCEN. So one of the reasons I wanted to explain this is whether they're banks or whether they're non-banks, they're under the same regulatory environment for FinCEN, and we will hold them accountable. And they're going to have to convince us of very high standards before they have access to the U.S. financial system.
Mr. Secretary, at the social media summit last week, the president essentially accused the social media giants of an animus against conservatives. Can you assure the markets and everyone watching that whatever action this government will take is not a result of the president's view that these social media giants are biased against them?
Well, again, what I will tell you is the president does have concerns as it relates to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And those are legitimate concerns that we've been working on for a long period of time. But no, we're not going to target any one entity. Everybody's playing by the same rules. Again, whether you walk into a money service provider, or whether you walk into a bank, or you do it digitally, you're going to have to adhere to the same rules.
Thank you, Secretary. Considering that Bitcoin is decentralized, what do you tell Americans who want to invest in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
Well, one, I tell them to be careful, okay? They should be clear why they're investing in them. There's a lot of good things to invest in, obviously we know about. But our number one issue is that, one, we don't want bad actors using cryptocurrencies. That's our number one issue. I think to a large extent, these cryptocurrencies have been dominated by illicit activities and speculation. We'll make sure that the general public and investors understand what they're investing in, and whether it's the SEC or other regulators, there's proper disclosure.
Mr. Secretary, you said that you're comfortable with Facebook launching the currency if they do it in the right way.
I didn't say I was comfortable with them launching the currency.
If they launched it in the appropriate and in a safe way in terms of
but
Americans'
I'm not
data
comfortable
security.
to that. So let me just be careful. As I've said, they and others have a lot of work to do before they get us comfortable.
Do you have a sense of a timeline there? Is Facebook being candid with the administration about it? How many years it would take them
I think they're being
before
very
launch?
candid with the administration and where they are. I'm not going to publicly speculate how long I think it will take them to get to the point where we're comfortable with it, but they are a long way away from. And again, part of it, there's been a lot of public interest in this. That's why I wanted to give the public the assurance that before they or anyone else does this, that we're going to make sure the financial system is protected. And as I said, there's a lot of illicit activity that will be shutting down for people who are using cryptocurrencies for bad purposes.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Can you give a sense about how those discussions are going with your counterparts from other G20 countries on this particular issue?
I would say there's enormous agreement on this. As I said, I was in Orlando, I think it was 2 weeks ago. The U.S. just finished the presidency of FATF. I gave the keynote address there. That was adopted. I mean, that is the largest organization, much bigger than the G20, and is kind of the gold standard of AML. And those rules were adapted. And at the G20 and the G7, we have absolute general agreement that in the U.S., if you deal with the U.S. financial system, you have to adhere to the same rules, and that's something that the rest of the G20 is very focused on.
Mr. Secretary?
Yes, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Secretary.
You said you'd take questions on a number of subjects, so I'll ask on another
No,
subject.
I said I was first
Sir,
going to finish. No, I'm
you're-
first going to finish the cryptocurrency.
Well, then I do have a cryptocurrency question, sir,
Go ahead,
and a
cryptocurrency.
follow-up. So you said that Treasury is concerned about bad actors using cryptocurrency
Yes.
such as Bitcoin, which has become very popular among white nationalist groups. What sort of actions is Treasury taking to stop these bad actors from using these decentralized cryptocurrencies? And I have a follow-up, sir.
Okay, well, I'm not, as it relates to any specific group, I'm not going to comment on any specific group. But what I would tell you is that FinCEN has multiple investigations going on. There have been enforcement actions. There will be more enforcement actions. We're going to beef up our resources for regulatory oversight. This is something we're absolutely focused on and on top of.
Okay, well, you have me ask a follow-up, other questions?
We're going to try to give everybody one
Yes,
question.
Mr.
Thank you.
Secretary, what specifically, language-wise, are you looking for out of the G7 finance ministers meeting on it? And are you confident that you'll get a statement that
Well,
has some
we
teeth in it?
I'd say, again, my understanding is that, you know, there'll be a chairman's report. There won't necessarily be a communique in general, but I leave that to the French. I will say, we have working groups at the G7 and G20. This has been in the G20 notifications. I think, you know, we got a lot of interest in the digital tax. We're focusing on the international tax issue, but this will definitely be high on our discussion issue.
Mr.
Yes,
Secretary?
Secretary, back in March, Treasury imposed restrictions or sanctions on the Venezuelan cryptocurrency, the petro, and our understanding is that the Venezuelan regime is still trying to keep it afloat. Can you give us an update on the response that you've gotten from those restrictions and whether or not you have any knowledge that the Venezuelan regime is trying to keep it
I'm not aware of anybody who's really using that, or it's taken off, or had any success whatsoever.
So the restrictions worked?
Absolutely.
Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Secretary, aren't you afraid of painting everybody with the same brush? You know, you have some of the crypto that have been going to CFTC, they've been going with the IMF and Lagarde and the ECB and every regulator getting this done in the rules, and Libra sort of comes up. So you're sort of putting everybody in the same, just painting the same brush for all the operators.
No, I don't think we're doing that at all. Matter of fact, you know, as I said, one of the reasons why I wanted to speak about this is there's been lots of activity that's been going on for the last year on this. And, you know, whether it's Congress or other areas of the press, because of Libra, it's caught a lot of attention, and people weren't aware of all the work that's been going on. So that's the purpose.
So can we go
No.
down?
You ready for
Let me know when you're ready for that one.
Can I press over to the?
Okay, any more crypto before we move on?
Yes,
May I
please.
ask?
Okay.
Yes, I wonder if you can be specific as to the illicit actions that you're referring to. Can you give us some examples so the American people can know if they're interested in getting into cryptocurrency, what things to avoid?
Well, again, if you're dealing with a legitimate entity in the US, those legitimate entities that are attached to crypto are indeed subject to the Know Your Customer rules and AML. If you're looking to use Bitcoin to go through those entities and go on the dark web and think you're not going to get caught, you're going to get caught. So this is a warning. If you want to use it for speculation, that's one thing. If you want to use it for illicit activities, we're going to put the full effort of the U.S. Treasury and the regulators onto that.
What are illicit activities, sir?
Do the new regulations favor traditional banks, maybe in the same way?
No, this is intended to be a level playing field, whether you're MoneyGram or you're a bank or you're an online or you're PayPal. This is intended to be a level playing field. And again, what we do encourage, and there's been a lot of financial innovation away from traditional banks for electronic payment systems. Lots of people use electronic payment systems in dollars very effectively, And, you know, we'll continue to support those activities. We want technology to evolve.